LegbearDS Chapter 9, End of the Year Beardery. You think it's over? It's never over. Greetings, ReddX and industry partners. Emerald Asa here with another tale of school shenaniganery. My wife asked me what shenanigans means the other day. I don't know what to tell her. But I should mention that she's got her own YouTube vlog channel, Mr. and Mrs. ReddX. You can go check us out over there. Thank you so much. I have to say how much we one loved hearing Red read her story in the last video. Heck yeah, I got you, fam. She was very proud of herself. Kid feels like she's made it big now. I mean, there's always a bigger fish, but yeah, we doing all right. She loved that you included Thera, Beatles Cats edition. Yeah, somebody clipped that too and posted in the Discord, which you should join. That was full of plugs in the beginning. She felt Tara was well represented. Or is it Tara? It's probably Tara. That's fine. And yes, Red turned off comment notifications, left on video notifications. Oh, good. I never miss a ReddX video, mate. Well, thank you, mate. I appreciate you. Also, reader/listener, if you haven't, subscribe, please. You won't want to miss what either. Sorry for the aggressive nature of the last installment. It was written on a very rough work day. No more going after commenters. Well, not today, anyway. I mean, as usual, I'm not gonna tell you how to live and such like that, but you're giving them attention, which is exactly what they're looking for. So, I don't know. So when we last left off, we were nearing the end of the school year. Avidbeard had a job interview, and Pitbeard turned in her resignation effect the last week of school so she could go to France. This was the time of year the teachers dreaded most. The closer we get to summer break, the antsier the kids get, and the more antsy kids get, well, the more fights break out. When a fight breaks out, well, you know who's on top of all the gossip around it? That's right, our cheesemake queen, Gabby. Queen Gabby was always the first to know why a fight happened and had very often had students show her video of said fight. Bro, should she get a Legbeard voice? I mean, gossiping, it is a quality of, but I don't think that in and of itself is too beardy. I'm gonna trust OP's judgment here. I hope I don't have to explain to you why this is incredibly unprofessional. That's exactly why I'm asking myself if she needs a Legbeard voice now. I have had students come up to me and say, Miss Mandy, do you want to see the video of the fight at lunch? And I always reply, no, I do not. Now get to class. I don't need to see the fight. I don't need to be involved at all. And I certainly don't need to socially bond with students over a video of the fight. No. No, 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 no. All of this to say that I found it very distasteful that Gabby was flat out asking students if they had videos of the fight and giggling right along with them. Bro, this is pretty irredeemable. Fights had become a near daily occurrence by that point and had been getting more serious. In one fight, one of the female APs, assistant principals, had been punched in the face trying to break it up, and it was getting worse by the day. Bro, this is wild. I thought kids today were like more chilled out or something. Probably not. Hormones is always crazy. On the other side of things, female students were PO'd about, at the time, forthcoming overturning of Roe v. Wade. This, of course, was met by fury from Pitbeard, Avidbeard, and Winnie as well. To be honest, this was one of the few times that I agreed with their outrage. I just didn't think that work was the place for teachers to be stoking those already furious flames of rage in the students. I tried to remain neutral on campus, as I always did. I didn't engage in conversation with students about it, and all I said was, when you're old enough, make sure you vote. And I left it at that. Always the professional, OP. I love that attitude. The Beards and Winnie don't do neutral, ever. No, they encourage some of the female seniors to paint themselves green and stage a walkout protest during school. Jesus Christ. And then they'll call the local news anonymously and be like, oh, you should report on this thing I engineered. Psyops everywhere, bro. Of course, it doesn't take much to convince high schoolers of anything if they feel their cause is at least a little just, and so that's exactly what happened. A couple hundred of female students painted or otherwise colored themselves green one afternoon and walked out of class and staged a protest at the flagpole. Why green? I don't fully understand that, but I think it's indicative of some women's rights movement that started in South America, but don't quote me on that. Honestly, I wasn't even wondering why green. You could paint yourself purple with yellow polka dots, like... I understand what you're doing here. Good excuse to get out of class and say you're doing something without actually doing anything. So, from my classroom, OP continues, I had a great view of the flagpole, so I watched as the girls and a few boys gathered there. I found this whole exercise to be futile, and kind of it is. Like the Supreme Court of the US cared if a couple hundred kids walked out of a class in small town USA, it seemed like a waste of class time, but if it made the kids feel like they were using their voices, then I guess it didn't do any harm. I was annoyed that teachers would actively encourage students to do this, but on a scale of beardery, it didn't even really count. It was clear though that everyone, student and teacher alike, were getting restless. Contracts had been sent out and everyone in English that hadn't turned in a resignation was having their contract renewed. That meant EnglishBeard would also be returning next year. I wasn't surprised, but given that the students still referred to him as the racist teacher, well, I was sort of hoping maybe he would just go quietly into the night. He kind of brought it around in Wee One's thing. He's himself again, at least, for better or for worse. High school moves fast. 4 years, he could weather it. He'll be all right. Just don't do that again. Of course, that meant that Beetle and I had our contracts renewed as well, which was a huge relief. I am so glad the waiting is over, I said, as I was sitting in the ESL classroom with Beetle and Callie. Yeah, but like, was there a doubt? Teacher shortage and all, Beetle said. I nodded. Sure, but you never know. Callie, did you decide what you're doing? Callie nodded. She'd been offered a choice between staying in ESL or teaching English too. She was also debating leaving teaching altogether after the year that we'd had. I decided to take English 2 or whatever. They're moving Gabby to English 2 as well, and I think I could work well with her and stuff. I sighed. Well, I won't lie. As your partner, I'm super sad we won't be working together in ESL next year, but as your friend, I'm super happy for you. I know regular English is what you've wanted to teach. Yeah, by this point, Callie and I had gone from work friends to just friends. It's an okay jump to make, sometimes. Aside from Beetle, she remains my best friend to this day. She nodded. And I did consider leaving teaching and stuff, but my boyfriend and I are hopefully moving back to California in a year and stuff, so I don't really want to start over somewhere else for a year or whatever, you know? And I will miss you like crazy when you go, but hey, someplace for us to stay when we go to California, I laughed. Totally, Callie nodded. So, you don't have to work with EnglishBeard in English 2 next year, do you? I asked. Callie shook her head. No. They're moving them to English 3 next year, after all. It's not like a state-tested subject and stuff, so instead of getting rid of him, they're sticking him in a subject that they deem less important because the state doesn't test it. Bloody brilliant. Wee One better not end up in his class. I will go full mommy bear on them. Back away slowly, she got the bloodlust in her eyes. And no one would blame you. Totally, Callie nodded. And no one wants that? You're a little scary, love, Beetle said. I don't know what you mean. I am bloody lovable, I smirked. The three of us chatted a bit longer, and then it was time for Beetle and me to go to our English 1 team meeting. Did you all get your contracts renewed? Sonia asked once we were all there. Everyone nodded, except for Pitbeard. I've already turned in my resignation, so I didn't, Pitbeard said proudly. I did, but I'm being moved to English 2 next year, Gabby said. Did you, Sonia? I asked. She nodded. Yes, and they asked me to take over as English 1 leader. Hope you don't mind, Gabby, Sonia said. Gabby shook her head. No, I'm still a team leader, just for English 2. Is this some weird English teacher posturing that's going on? My number's higher than yours. Oh no. So weird.
I got my contract renewed, but I'll be moving campuses. I'll be leaving the losers here behind. I got the job at the new high school, so I'll be the Avid coordinator over there next year.
Avid Beard said smugly. I was annoyed at her tone, but that was overshadowed by the joy that I felt that she would be leaving this campus. This meant that all of the Legbeards were leaving. Yes, in one fell swoop. And Sonia was gonna be our new leader. No more gossipy meetings. Yeah, okay, Gabby and Winnie were staying, but they weren't quite Legbeards. And yeah, Englishbeard was staying, but that was just one. I celebrated in my head for a moment before a horrific thought hit me. This meant job openings. Who would they hire to replace these beards? Haven't you heard, OP? If you cut the beard back, it only grows in thicker. Keep your fingers crossed. That was a thought I truly couldn't handle. The devil, you know, and all, one thing at a time. I decided to focus on the good. The Legbeards were leaving. GSA was mine as of next year, and Beetle and I had been notified that we were teaching summer school. We were teaching both sessions. I was teaching all day and Beetle was doing half days. This meant, I thought, a chance to visit home for Christmas. That didn't pan out, but I thought at the time that I would finally get to go home. This story's making me a little bit homesick, honestly. I missed it too. You're not alone. We had also finally reached state testing time. We weren't excited about testing. We were, however, excited that testing was about to be behind us for a little while, anyway. This was one thing that actually brought the whole English department together, our disdain for state testing. We actually banded together to get it done, and then everyone hated everyone else again. Yeah, common enemies defeated. Now let's go back to our squabbling. I'd also decided to stop pushing GSA so much. Pitbeard was leaving. I would maintain reasonable decorum, but aside from that, I'd just let Pitbeard be. It was easier than fighting a battle that I was about to win anyway. At least, that's what I thought. Oh. I got a message from one of the non-English department sped teachers one day. He was the only other teacher in the school that was also from Australia, so we'll call him Aussie. I'm not even gonna try and do the accent. Don't do that. We'd actually gone to the same uni for a little bit at the same time. We never knew each other, so it was neat that we ended up in the same American school. He was a bit of a Chad, but only in a good way. He had no idea what an awesome bloke he was or how attractive he was. He liked to tease me about sounding more Irish than Aussie. Beetle and he are mates, and there's a bit of a rivalry there too, I think. Anyway, he messaged me one day. Aussie,
Mandy, you sponsor GSA, right?
OP, yeah, why? Aussie,
is student A in the club?
OP, not at the moment, but they've come to past meetings. Aussie,
okay, is student B in the club?
OP, again, not at the moment, but she has come to meetings in the past. For the record, student B was the student that had threatened violence against the governor in an earlier part of this story. That's hilarious. You can't do it, you should do it, but it's hilarious. Ozzy,
okay, we have a bit of a situation. A couple, actually.
OP, oh, Ozzy.
Student B made a comment to some of her friends that she was bringing in cupcakes to the next meeting that were baked with the devil's lettuce. Student A has this whole other issue with student B, and if she shows up at the meeting, student A might show up and try and start something.
OP, bloody hell. Yeah, it just never ends, does it? I decided I needed to let Pitbeard know about this, so I went over to her room. We need to talk, I said.
What is it?
She asked. The meeting tomorrow. Ozzy heard from another student that student B might be bringing some of them devil's lettuce cupcakes, I said.
I heard that too. So?
She asked. Are you serious? I blinked. So? Don't you think we should follow up on this? She shrugged.
I'm not worried about it.
I mean, I guess I tried it in 9th grade and stuff, but eating it, that's a totally different ball game, dude. You're gonna have somebody that eats 4 of them cupcakes and the soul's gonna leave their body. It's not good. It's not good. Okay, thanks. Opie walks out without saying anything else. She knew, and she hadn't told me, and she wasn't gonna do anything about it. This was not okay. I promptly emailed student B's homeroom teacher as well as her assigned AP. I was not about to let students get laced cupcakes on my watch. And if she had been joking, oh well, not a chance that I was willing to take. And sure enough, the assistant principal called her in and she claimed that she was just joking. She was told that she shouldn't joke about illegal activity on campus, or probably at all. Meanwhile, I needed more information about this other issue. I stopped by Ozzy's classroom after school and asked him to fill me in. Writing out the dialogue would be too much here, especially because the Arnold voice hurts a little bit if it goes for too long. So I'll just explain the situation as he told me. Student a girl. I hate the letter thing, so we're gonna do names. I'm gonna call him Anna. So Anna had a boyfriend, but was friends with student B, Bimmy, a biological male but trans female. Sure, it's Bimmy and Jimmy. Bimmy was friends with Anna's boyfriend as well. Anyway, Anna and Bimmy did the wild thing, and Anna didn't want to admit that she cheated on her boyfriend, while Bimmy was struggling with the fact that she had now done that thing as a male when she identified as a female, and that she slept with a friend's girlfriend to boot. High school really hasn't changed. The genders have changed a bit, but everything's still the same. Oh, that is to say that Bimmy was already having emotional issues from the act itself. Anna, trying to save face, lied and said that Bimmy had assaulted her. This blindsided Bimmy and sent her into an even worse mental state. Anna refused to file charges because she was lying. She did go on to report it to the school admin, however. Anna also claimed that Bimmy was stalking her. Bimmy was called in and told to stay away from Anna, and she tried. Anna avoided Bimmy the best she could. The problem was, Bimmy had made a habit of finding out from friends where Anna was and showing up there. Bro, Bimmy a real creep. Somebody get that dude out of here. So, this is where the GSA comes in. Come to find out, Anna stopped coming because she was told by her parents, and Bimmy stopped coming because Anna was part of the club. When Anna got wind that Bimmy was coming back to the club, well, she wanted to come back too, and that is why Ozzy reached out to me. He wanted me to text him if they both showed up so he could come to help me monitor the situation. He wanted me to help keep them apart. He also told me not to fill Pitbeard in on too much of this situation because he didn't trust her to not make it worse, and clearly it was already a mess. Oh man, they truly don't pay teachers enough. I'm like, yeah, it seems like a good salary. And then you stand in the middle of it, you're looking at it right here, and I'm just like, God, I couldn't do it. I did as Ozzy asked. When they both showed up at the meeting, I let him know that he could come hang out and supervise. I told Pitbeard that I was told we had to keep A and B apart for some reason that I wasn't privy to, but that we just needed to do it. Thankfully, she didn't argue with me once Ozzy showed up. Now you're outnumbered. It was this that made me realize I couldn't sit back in GSA for the rest of the year. I had to remain engaged to ensure that chaos didn't consume everything that we ever held dear. It was painfully clear that no one trusted Pitbeard. Meanwhile, the day after testing, I happened to run into Englishbeard in the hall. I tried to avoid eye contact because I was not in the mood to talk to him. Hi, Mandy, he said. I sighed. Hi, Englishbeard. How you going, mate? I asked. Good. How about you? He asked. Can't complain. Glad state tests are over? Now we can get back to some normal teaching, I said. Oh, I'm done, Englishbeard said. What do you mean, done? We have a month left of school, I said. I told my students after testing, I'm done. I'm not gonna fight for their attention. And if they want to learn, they can do what I post in Google Classroom, but
I'm done.
Oh boy. OP then took a very deep breath, trying to hold back mommy rage. But English Beard. English 2 is supposed to be doing a research project this term, and I think that would really be a benefit to Wee 1 to learn those research skills. I know Callie is giving her kids a choice of doing a research paper or a podcast. I think Wee 1 could do a great podcast. English Beard shrugged.
She can do it if she wants. I won't stop her.
Yeah, you're also not gonna encourage her at all. I wanted to deck him right there. I'm certain I could have taken him. I was also certain that that would be a career-limiting move, so I didn't. Okay, I need to get back to class. Have a good day, I said as I scurried off to my classroom as fast as I could before I got myself in trouble. Have a good day actually means have the day you deserve. I was fuming. He was done? Seriously? Must be bloody freaking nice. And my kid was gonna do what? Finish the year with the same quality English education that she'd been getting since October? Bloody seemed that way. If I knew Irish, I would have started yelling it a la Beetle at that very moment. I took a breath and tried to calm down enough to prepare my own classes. Unlike English Beard, I had a month of lessons left to teach my students. I wasn't a monster. It was gonna be as fun as I could make it, but they would be learning. Most of the last month was teaching them how they could watch English TV shows over the summer to better their English before fall. Remember, I teach ESL, not normal English. This means watching a lot of school-friendly TV shows like Saved by the Bell, Hannah Montana, and Once Upon a Time. Yeah, my ex in Japan taught herself English by watching Full House. Which, to be honest, I like because Beetle has an uncanny resemblance to the bloke that plays Captain Hook, who is also Irish. I think the Irish only have like 2 sets of genes. I threw in some school-friendly YouTube channels too, which I won't name here. ReddX wasn't one of them, because 1, I hadn't found it yet, and honestly, I don't think it counts as school-friendly. Sorry, mate. Yeah, you probably right. I don't let my kids listen to me rant in the microphone. Surprisingly, it appeared that Pitbeard was also still teaching lessons. I knew because I could hear her through the bloody wall, and it sounded like cats being strangled. I had to turn up my video just to drown her out. At the meeting that afternoon, she walked in looking perplexed. "What's wrong, Pitbeard?" Gabby asked.
I've been getting a headache every day, and I finally figured out why.
Pitbeard said. "Oh? Why?" Gabby asked.
My own voice!
Yeah, maybe.
I think I talk too loud! I'm going to monitor my volume and see if that helps,
Pitbeard said. I mean, she might be a legbeard, but there's a glimmer of self-awareness there. Killed me. OP also stifles her laughter. Beetle did not, however. Your own voice is giving you a headache? He laughed. Pitbeard nodded.
I think so. Some of the kids said I'm too loud, too. You're in class with me a period of the day. What do you think?
Beetle stopped laughing and looked panicked. He looked at me and I just stared back at him as if to say, "How you gonna get out of this one, love?" He took a breath. I have hearing loss, so I'm not the one to ask." The non-confrontationalist answer. OP smirks. Good answer. Also not a lie. A few months after that, he did end up getting hearing aids. Sweet bro, put on ReddX. Turn up them hearing aids. Ah! After that day, Pitbeard tried so hard to control her volume, and she failed so miserably, which was, of course, just so funny. She literally couldn't help being loud and shrill, even while actively trying. So, yeah, Even after that, I still had to turn my volume up to try and drown her out. The Friday of the week before the last week of school was Pitbeard's last day, and I could not stop smiling. I did decide that I should go wish her well at the very least, and I wanted some of that delicious goodbye cake from the workroom. OP, I'm pretty sure the cake is a lie. Last day, you excited about France? I asked.
I am. We fly out in the morning,
Pitbeard said. Did you ever get another job? I asked.
I did. I got a teaching job at a middle school in the city. They teach their teachers much better than this small town district,
she said. I nodded. Oh, well, good for you. Best of luck. I grabbed my cake and went back to the ESL room. With that, I didn't see Pitbeard again, and with any luck, I never ever will. Rest in peace! By the last day of school, we were all ready to go. Everyone was planning on bailing as soon as we dismissed the kids. Mr. Principal had other plans. Ugh. He called a staff meeting after school that day. Yes, Mr. Principal called a sudden staff meeting on the last day of school. Bro, you text me, I'm out. The idea was we release students, then we go into the auditorium for a 30-minute meeting, which would inevitably take longer than 30 minutes. That was the idea, anyway. The moment the bell rang, we released our students. About 15 seconds later, the fire alarm went off. Yep, one of our lovely children decided to start the summer by pulling the fire alarm because why not? We all evacuated the building, which meant being ushered to where all of the beards stood, complaining about the fire drill. For 20 minutes! Alright, meeting's over, bye! Finally, we were let back into the building and told we had 5 minutes to get to the staff meeting. It was a lot of, if you're not coming back, then we'll miss you, and enjoy your summer, but here are some professional development opportunities. Finally, at long last, the school year was over. Beetle and I didn't say goodbye to anyone. We got we won and rushed off campus as fast as we could, and we went to have a family dinner at our favorite sushi restaurant to celebrate our survival. Now, glorious time off. For a week. And then summer school. Oh, Lord. And no, summer school was not beard-free, but that is for a future installment. Oh! Next time, we take a beard break and get into some Chad cringe. It happened in the same school year, so it seems like I should share that before moving on to another school year. Thanks again to ReddX for reading. If you haven't, you need to like, subscribe, ring the bell. ReddX deserves the love. Yes, you do. He's a good bloke. Until next time. Thank you so much, OP. You did the plug, so I don't have to. It seems like I shouldn't tag this with r/LegbeardStories anymore. Now we ain't got no Legbeards left, unless some of the incoming teachers are also Legbeards. Episode seems a little short to me. I still gotta do like Patreon readings and stuff, so I'm gonna go ahead and insert the Chad interlude. Yeah, sure, why not? Let's do it right now. School of Beards, Chapter 10, the Chad Interlude. G'day, ReddX and company. Emerald Aussie here with another tale of bearder, chattery. Ooh. Yes, this tale takes place in the same school year as all the previous chapters, but it focuses on another type of specimen, chads. Like neckbeards, chads can also be good or bad. I mentioned a good chad previously in my Workmate Aussie. On the other hand, we had a brotherhood of the bad type of chad, and that brotherhood was the coaches. Sports ball jock bros, whoa! Since we're dealing with some previously unmentioned teachers, it's back to a cast list. There's OP, Beetle, Callie, Miss Dean, you know all of them. We've also got Chadwick, who is the head coach. He was over every other coach on campus. He was over all sports programs. He was the Chad to end all Chads, at least as far as the other Chads were concerned. His primary sport was American football, and this takes place in the southern United States, so that made him king on campus. He taught no classes other than American football. That is how high on the totem pole he sat. I bet this whole episode's gonna be like that movie Varsity Blues. Is that the one I'm thinking about? Probably. There's another Chad just named Chad, and this Chad is the head soccer coach. He also taught a history class, but that was always secondary to soccer. Callie got to the point that by the end of the year, she could not say his name without dropping vitriol. He might not have been King Chad, but he was the most arrogant one of the entire bunch. And yeah, there were other Chads in the mix, but they were mostly just backup for Chad in this tale. I didn't have much direct interaction with them, aside from the writing sample debacle. When we ended the last chapter, we were at the end of the school year, so let's hop in our TARDIS, and go back to the first staff meeting of the year before school even started. At the end of the staff meeting, just before we were dismissed, Chadwick stood up, and in his stereotypical South American football coach voice, very specific, thank you, he said,
I just want you to know that if any of our athletes give you trouble in class, you can come to myself or their direct coach and we will handle it. We are in the business of teaching our boys to be good men, and that starts with each of you in the classroom. If you got a behavior problem, you text me. I'll be right there. If you got a kid failing, email me. I'll be right there. We want our boys to be responsible for themselves. We admire what each of you do in the classroom, and we want to partner with you to ensure our boys are the best of the best.
And all the athletic girl teams, yeah, they probably don't matter. I mean, have you ever gone to a WNBA game? And OP says, yeah, that was a great speech, right? Yeah, it was also all bollocks, as you will soon see. Fast forward a few weeks into the school year, I was sitting in the ESL room waiting for Callie so we could have our ESL meeting. At this point, we didn't know each other super well, but we had come to have a mutual respect for each other already, and we knew that we were enjoying working together. She finally stormed in and slammed the door behind her. She sat at her desk in a huff. Callie, what's wrong, mate? I asked. Chad, she said. She said, clearly fuming. Who's that? I asked. I could never keep the coaches straight. Too many sports teams on campus.
He's like totally the soccer coach or whatever,
Callie said. Oh, okay. What about Chad? I asked.
He wants to pull Joe out of like your class so he can like go play football and stuff,
Callie said. What? Joe's been in the States for less than a month. He speaks no English. He needs to be in my classes.
I know, like I totally tried to tell him that, but he just started mansplaining to me, like totally being all, oh, football's important for boys and stuff, she said.
I paused. Wait, you said he was the soccer coach? Why does he care about football?
Because Joe is like totally on the soccer team right now, she said.
And he wants him off? Not bloody happening, I said.
I told him that Joe is like totally your student and that he should 100% go talk to you or whatever, she said.
And I nodded. Bring it. And sure enough, the very next day, I was in the middle of teaching my reading class, different than English class, and there was a knock on my door. I saw a bloke I didn't know standing there. I went and opened the door. That's not advisable. If you see somebody you don't know standing at the door, you talk to him through the door first. Show me your credentials. Can I help you? I asked him, and he nodded.
I'm sorry, I don't know your name. I'm Coach Chad.
I froze. Okay, I had a face to the name now. Hi, I'm Miss Mandy. I'm teaching a class right now.
This won't take long. I just want you to know I admire what you do, but I really think that Joe would be better off in football, Chad said.
I looked at him. Okay, I guess we're doing this now. OP's no nonsense, I like that. I poked my head into the class. Read over the next 2 pages, I said, using my hand motions to explain and looking at Amy, my strongest English speaker, to translate. Amy nodded at me and I closed the door behind me. Joe can't speak English. He did not understand my directions just now. I have another student that's a stronger English speaker that just translated. I use Google Translate for almost all of my communication with him. He hasn't even been in this country for a month yet. He only speaks Spanish.
Oh, that's perfect.
Some of the football players speak Spanish, Chad said. No, you're not understanding. Joe has to learn English. He has to pass state tests that are given in English. There's no Spanish option. Without English, he will not graduate, I said. This is really a tragic tale, isn't it? Give up learning English to go throw a sports ball around on the minuscule chance you get picked up to make millions? Nah. If anything, do both. Why does this have to happen like right in the middle class? I got questions. He's gonna learn more English from his peers than he will from you, Chad said. And now I was seething. He might learn conversational English, not the academic English that he needs in order to pass his state tests and be successful. Chad rolled his eyes and shifted tactics. Okay, so let's just say we had to figure out a way for football to work in his schedule. How would we do that? I sighed. It won't work. The English class he needs is 5th period, and the reading class is 1st. Both of these are when football meets, so it won't work. He can stay in soccer. Yeah, soccer's not gonna work for him. I just need him in football, so how do we make this happen? Chad said. Bro, what? You really are just wasting your breath with this one. Are you daft? It won't work. We have laws about giving ESL students an equitable education, I said. Chad was clearly annoyed. Okay, that won't work though, so what else can we do? What? Are you not understanding? He was not gonna let up. Okay, if it had to work and we had no choice, we could put him in Gabby's 2nd period English. I do inclusion support in there. The thing is, the kids I support in there have a foundation of English, and I'm just there to make sure that they fully understand or help them with new concepts. It's gonna be next to impossible for Joe to be successful in there because he doesn't speak any English. Okay, and the reading thing, he asked. I sighed. I teach an advanced reading class 6th period, but again, those kids speak basic English. He is going to be lost and he is going to struggle. Okay, well, he's gonna learn English in football, so he'll be fine. Thank you, Miss Mandy, for working with us, Chad said. You came over here to get the answer that you wanted, and when I didn't give it to you, you just pretended you heard it anyways? Jesus Christ. I looked at him. I did not say that any of that was a good idea. It's an awful idea. I'm sure you're very good at what you do, but learning English is mostly about exposure. He'll be much more receptive to his peers speaking it than he will from you. Not that your program isn't important, but this is going to be a more effective way for him to learn the language, Chad said. God damn it, dude. Oh, I do love having my job explained to me by a coach that doesn't even have a certification in English. That's not how it works. We do 2 types of language, academic and social. We learn each differently, but Chad was already walking away. I was fuming. I pushed down my anger and went back to my class and finished the period. The next period, I marched very, very rapidly to Miss Dean's office. She wasn't in her office, so I went out looking for her. She was in Mr. Principal's office and they saw me in the hall. Mr. Principal poked his head out.
Miss Mandy, do you need me?
He asked. I shook my head. No, I need Miss Dean, I said.
She's in here. Miss Dean, we can finish this later. Mandy looks like a woman on a mission. Oh, I'm glad she wants you and not me,
Mr. Principal said. I don't know why people are scared of me. Even a wee one calls me Scary Mommy. But I digress. Miss Dean then followed me into her office and shut the door. Mr. Principal's right. You look like a woman on a mission. What happened? Coach Chad interrupted my class, and he wants to pull one of my non-English speaking students to play football, and I then explained the whole thing to her. Education comes first. We can't pull a student out of those classes without parent approval, Ms. Dean said. That's the problem. He's in the States without his parents. He's staying with a cousin that's barely older than he is. She's his guardian, I said. Do you know if the counselors have reached out to her yet? Miss Dean asked. I have no idea. After Coach Chad talked to me, I finished class and I hightailed it to your office, I said. I appreciate you fighting for the academic well-being of your student. I'll follow up on this. We'll make sure that Joe gets what he needs, Miss Dean said. And I thought that that was the end of it, but if it was, oh, that wouldn't be a very good story. I got an email from the head counselor later that day asking me to go to her office, so I did as she asked. Yes, ma'am, I asked. Chad, talk to me about Joe. He needs to be in football. How can we make this happen? She asked. I sighed. It's a bad idea. It's Garden wants him to be in football, she said. If we must, you can move him from my first period reading to 6, and he can do football every other day. I'm willing to compromise, but English is a core subject. It's just too important. He needs to be in my English class, I said. She nodded. Okay, thank you. Not a great compromise, but it was something. This whole story's so sad. Why is everybody speaking for Joe? Can't we ask Joe what he wants to do? Nobody knows Spanish? Come on. Joe want to play football? All right, you make your own choices in life. Although as a teacher, it is kind of your job to guide them and such. Kids don't always make the best choices for themselves. I think this compromise is more than fine, yes. That night I was venting to Beetle. The more I talked about the situation, the more furious I got. Okay, love, calm down. You're right and everything, but we're in a state where football's practically religion. You have to understand that you might not win this one, Beetle said, reaching for my hand. Football is really more important than a solid education, I asked. Beetle nodded. Here, yeah, it is. That is so backward, I sighed. Beetle agreed and tried to change the subject to calm me down. I mean, it is true. It's just part of the culture. Culture said with like heavy quotations around it. The next Monday, I logged into my grade book and got a notification that my roster in 3 classes had been changed. Joe had moved from my first period reading to 6, as I had agreed, but he had also been removed from my English class altogether. There had been no compromise at all. I was fuming and I went to Gabby's room. I need you to log into the grade book, I said. Whoa, what happened? Gabby asked. Did your second period get a student named Joe? I asked. Gabby logged in. Oh, yeah, I did get a Joe added to my roster. I took a very deep breath and explained the whole thing to Gabby so she knew what she was in for. Wait, he speaks no English? I understand some Spanish, but I don't speak it that well, and I can't slow down my class the way you can to accommodate a non-English speaker, Gabby said. I nodded. I know. That's why I told them that this was a bad idea. Okay, how do you want me to play this? Gabby asked me. I sighed. I guess just do your lesson as normal, and then I'll take him over to the conference table and work with him one-on-one. It will prevent me from working with my other students in there, but I don't see any other way at this point. Do what you have to do. I got your back, Gabby nodded. See, in the last chapter, I'm like, Gabby's almost a legbeard, but no, she's just gossipy. She seems cool otherwise. She gets it. After I left Gabby's room, I went to Beetle's. So much for bloody compromise, I cried. Beetle looked at me wide-eyed. What did I do, love? Yeah, that's the husband answer, isn't it? Not you, Chad, and the counselors. Remember that compromise? Yeah, bollocks! They pulled Joe from my English class. Chad, that bloody wanker, got his way. In spite of the detriment to the student, I yelled. Beetle took a breath. Yeah, that's messed up, I agree, but like, what else can you do? Do my best to help Joe pass English and talk to Miss Dean, I said. Beetle nodded. Then do that. I get why you're mad, but you have class soon, so like, breathe. He closed the shade on his door so we had some privacy and took my hand. We were always very careful about PDAs where anyone at work might see us. I got you, love. You're an amazing teacher, and I know you're doing everything you can to help this student. Everything you're doing is in his best interest. I know it's hard when others are running counter to that, but I know you'll continue to do the best that you can. Focus on that, and just address the things that you can, and whatever Chad does, well, like, you can't control that. Advice for life, honestly. I took a deep breath. You're right. Thank you. And that's what good spouses are for. Anytime, Beetle nodded. as he hugged me quickly before reopening his shade. I headed out to my class. I did talk to Miss Dean later that day, and she claimed she knew nothing about Joe's schedule change, and that she was just as surprised about the compromise not happening as I was. And the truth is, I'm not sure that I buy that. Miss Dean a little bit sus. But I did my best. For 6 weeks, I tried my damnedest to get that kid to pass English. The problem was, Gabby went at a normal pace with a normal amount of assignments. I had the luxury of cutting out assignments to give the student more time to focus on the more important elements of a unit, rather than learning the more intense rigor of standard English classes. It's almost like my class was designed for students learning the language for the first time or something crazy like that. At the end of the grading cycle, I was beyond frustrated. I asked Callie for advice. I did everything I could. It's just too much for him. It's too much to expect of a student that's new to the country, I sighed. Callie nodded. Yeah, it is. It's not Joe's fault. Like, he was totally set up for failure, and he did fail. So now he's not even eligible to play. You know, like no pass, no play or whatever. But he's not on the soccer team. I rolled my eyes. Like, that's what this was about, wasn't it? Like, Chad didn't want him on the soccer team or whatever, so to hell with everything else, Callie asked. I nodded. I think so. And now, as I warned, Joe is the one suffering, but he's in football. Like, how's his English coming? Callie asked. He speaks exactly none, I sighed. You mean he didn't become fluent in football? Like, oh my god, I'm totally shocked and stuff, she asked mockingly. I laughed. Maybe he'd hate speech and curse words. He's also learned to be an arrogant wanker, but that's about it. No way. You mean he like totally didn't become a Rhodes Scholar? Callie laughed. At this point, we had to laugh away the fury, because if you don't, you'll go crazy. Shocking, right? I replied. This isn't okay. So what do I do now? His guardian like wanted him in football. Maybe we could like call a meeting with her and show her what that led to and stuff, Callie suggested. I nodded. Okay, let's do it. I'm not sure she speaks English though. Can you set it up? Callie nodded. I'm on it, like totally, and she did. Callie set up a meeting with Joe's cousin before school. On the day of the meeting, we were prepared to make an academic argument as to why Joe needed ESL. We found out that morning that Coach Chad was coming to the meeting too. I guess he wanted to make a sports-based argument. Oh, this is getting juicy now. Callie and I got to the meeting room a few minutes early to prepare. Chad got there 5 minutes late. Not that it mattered because Joe's guardian was very late. It was getting closer and closer to the start of the school day. I wonder if she's even gonna come, Callie asked, and I shrugged. Even if she does, I have a first period class. If I have to cover the meeting so you can go teach, I totally don't mind and stuff, Callie said. She glanced at Chad. I think part of her wanted to go head to head with him at this point. I nodded. You're the best. And unfortunately, that is exactly what happened. The guardian got there just before school started. I was able to stay long enough to introduce myself and Callie, and then excuse myself to go teach my class. That's good flexibility there, though. I'm double plus extra glad Callie was backing you up in that situation. I texted Callie later to see if she could skip English Beard's 4th period to meet me in the ESL room to fill me in on the meeting. I was all too happy to use it as a valid excuse to miss an English 1 meeting. She felt the same, happy to have a reason to not deal with English Beard for a bit. We met at the start of 4th. How'd it go? I asked. She sighed. Frustrating. I am so sorry. I appreciate you taking on the meeting for me, I said. She nodded. It's no problem. And honestly, it's not just that. I'm frustrated for totally some other reasons. What happened? OP asks. I've been having issues with this kid named Dave in my class or whatever. He's been coming over to my desk and making inappropriate comments and getting way too close to me, grody yuck. I've asked him to stop, but that makes it even worse. He asks me questions like, do you think I'm cute, miss? And do you like it when I get close to you? Boy, been watching too much dirty anime. What are you doing?
This is what the smut has done to the children.
Anyways, that kid's like totally a soccer kid, so I emailed Chad about it last week. Remember, they want to partner with us to make these boys like good men or whatever. Well, yeah, I never heard back. So I emailed Chadwick and totally told him. I finally heard back from him today. He said that it was my classroom and I should handle classroom management. Like, Gabby also told me that Chad went to her about Dave. He's like totally failing her class because he never turns in any work, and Chad asked her to bump him to a 70 so he could play, and like, she totally did, Callie explained. I blinked. That was a lot of information. I do agree, but I think I absorbed it more than Anna and Bimmy. Did you explain to Chad and Chadwick what Dave was doing? And what do you mean Gabby gave in to bumping his grade? I like totally explained to them both what he was doing, but it doesn't seem to matter to them. I've like written referrals and admin told me to like call his parents and stuff, so I have done that multiple times. I'm like totally out of options, Callie sighed. And yes, Gabby gave him a 70 so he could play. Chad convinced her that she needed to. I dare Chad to try that crap with me. I don't give unearned grades, I sighed. So how was the meeting? Every time I tried to talk to Joe, like even in Spanish, he just looked at his guardian. I think he's used to having someone do everything for him. Like, I ultimately explained the situation and the guardian said we should do whatever Joe wanted. I asked Joe if he felt like being back in your English class would be better, and he like just shrugged. I managed to talk around the issue until it was agreed to try the compromise that like we originally wanted to try. He'll be put back in your English classes, but like stay in advanced reading so he can do football on B days, Callie said. I nodded. Okay, not perfect, but considerably better. I'll take the small victory. Callie, you're amazing. All of these meetings and were essentially where we agreed to be in the first place? Good lord. After that entire ordeal, Chad became Callie's arch nemesis. She felt about him the way I did about Pitbeard. I did my best to help her with the Dave situation. I worked with the kid a bit in Gabby's room, so one day I pulled him out to talk to him. Dave, let's talk, I said. Dave sat down and just looked at me. You know you have teachers that care about your success, right? I asked. No, I don't, he said. I nodded. Yes, you do. I care, Miss Gabby cares, Miss Callie cares. Who's Miss Callie? Dave asked. I sighed. Your reading teacher. Reading teacher? He asked. 7th period, I said. Oh, the short, cute one. Yeah, I like totally didn't know her name and stuff, Dave said. I took a breath. Anyway, we care about your success, and it is sad that we seem to care more about your success than you do. If you cared about my success, you'd help me, Dave said. I try to help you, Dave. We all do. You have to put in the work as well, though. We want to help you succeed, but we're not going to do the work for you, I said. Dave looked at me, and without missing a beat, replied, That would be helping me. We're not doing your work for you. That would not be helping you, I said flatly. Yeah, do it for me. I'll get an A, and that will be helping me, Dave said. I will teach you nothing. We want to help you learn, I said. Nah, you need to do it for me, miss. That'll help, he said. This conversation started to become circular very quickly. Dave was great at talking in a circle, and it became more and more frustrating. I finally just nodded. I'm not going to keep repeating myself. I said what I had to say. If you accept help or not, that's on you, I said, as I walked away with Dave still saying that I needed to do his work for him. Teenagers are such assholes. Dave never did accept help, and he ended up in summer school, although thankfully not with me. He also never stopped making Callie feel uncomfortable for the rest of the year. Dude, baby creeps out here, what's going on? But getting back to Chad, we did put our compromise into effect. I got Joe back in my English class, but The damage had been done. He'd fallen behind. But worse than that, he had learned what I call the football player personality. See, for all the speeches that Chadwick liked to give about teaching these boys
To be good men that would be respectful and responsible.
yeah, they weren't any of that. No, the football players almost all had a cookie-cutter personality that consisted of arrogance, disrespect, zero concern for academics, and looking down on anyone deemed less attractive than them, at least any non-athlete, to the point of bullying them, of course.
Poor Joe, they got their claws in him.
Also, a good bit of the aforementioned hate speech came from these guys as well, and in the time Joe had been on the team, he had gone from a sweet new kid to one of them. He slept through class, made disrespectful comments in Spanish while I was teaching. Yeah, I never taught him those phrases. And he also never turned in work. And just like Callie, I reached out to Chadwick, and I never got a reply from him. It's so sad, bro. I feel so bad for Joe. Can we save Joe? It's about the worst thing ever. I did the best I could to help Joe pass my classes, and I did most of the time. I was on my own with his behavior, however. Chadwick wasn't going to reply, and his guardian had stopped taking my calls. Bro. When we came back for winter break, I decided that with football season over, there was no reason I shouldn't get him back into beginner's reading. At least I could have half a year with him in there. I went to Miss Dean and made my case. She agreed that it made sense, and she'd talked to the counselor. I was called into the counselor's office again and told it would be up to Chadwick if his schedule could change because of his off-season activities. This time, I did win. I got Joe back into the classes that I needed him in. Until next football season, I guess. For the last half of the year, my interactions with Chad and Chadwick were limited. I'd given up on reaching out to Chadwick. I had long since realized his staff meeting speeches were for the benefit of Mr. Principal, and he didn't mean a word of it. Callie continued to feud with Chad. When it came to writing samples, Chad flat out refused to follow our guidelines, which, again, were the state guidelines. The state wanted those samples in pen. He had his students write them in pencil. Callie went to him and told him that he needed to have his students redo them in pen. He went to Chadwick, and Chadwick asked Callie if it was really that big of a deal. Callie reminded them it was a state guideline. Chad then left the assignment for a day when he was out, when we had been perfectly clear that the writing sample assignment had to be given by a licensed teacher, not a substitute. Callie went in to talk to him when he came back and told him that he needed to do it again when he was in the room. Chad asked how the state would ever know if it had been a sub and not him. Ultimately, Callie ended up having to pull the students that we had to have samples from out of his room and just doing it herself. You've just rewarded bad behavior. I can't condone any of this. Where was I during all this? Well, I was trying to get those writing samples from Pitbeard and Englishbeard. By the end of the year, I had gone from not particularly liking American football to loathing it. And the culture that it created. Culture, again, with heavy quotations. Yeah, Aussies can get a bit crazy over our footy, which is not rugby or soccer. Aussie rules is its own wonderful sport. Go Lions!
I don't know anything about this.
But this was on another level. To this day, I hate American football. And most American school sports, if I'm being honest.
Come on, bro. Let's do some sports ball. Whoa!
So what ultimately happened? Well, Chad still coaches soccer, and Chadwick is still the head coach / head football coach. I don't deal with them anymore because it seems like most athletes don't like graphic design, which is what I teach now. Chadwick continues to give his feel-good speech at staff meetings, and I always roll my eyes and whisper to Beetle, yeah, right. So, that's the story of the Chads, and how they put sports over academics and ruined an otherwise wonderful child, and how Callie had a nemesis that wasn't a beard. Next time, we'll dive into summer school and the challenges that brought. Thank you for reading. Remember to tip your narrator. Oh my god, tip? Yeah, there's a thanks button down there, isn't there? Subscribe, ring the bell, comment. If you're feeling extra kind, join the Patreon. Great plugs. Wow, that's wonderful. Also, we got a Discord too. Oh, a Teespring. Oh, thanks, Red, for taking / sharing this journey with me. And until next time, I'm still sticking with my thought that OP needs a pay rise. I really like the thought of like good Chad, bad Chad versus like good neckbeard, bad neckbeard, you know? I think that's pretty big brain time, a distinction that needs to be made. And yeah, these are some bad Chads. They just don't give a single damn. It's sad if I'm honest, but I hope Joe will turn out all right. Thank you guys for watching along with me today. I hope you'll like, comment, subscribe, share the video around if you haven't done any of those things quite yet. I got all kinds of plugs in the description, you know, follow me on all the things. Thank you so much. I would also like to get around to thanking my patrons and YouTube channel members today, so let's do just that. Coming up with Scuds, Bedazzled Misery on the outside, Joanna Ross, Fire Drag, Buy Two Get One Hand, JC, me, Jerry, Sue Jerry, coming up on the rear end, Project Duke, Just Video Watching, Amel Johannan, Mute, making a break for it, That One Gay Cop, Selwing 666, Samantha, Origami Steve, Vladimir Dragonov, Sean Cantwell, John Endorse, Train Boy, Shiza, Angel Dark, Skylar Rain, The Fezwearer, Heaven Sent, Robert Thibodeau, Grim Strive, Tooth Plushy, Corey Arts, Florence Waver, Dungeon Bat, Billy D, Robert Waits, Brandon Ashcraft, Phantom Danica, Skylar Morningstar, The Gypsy Barber, and Death's Flagship, heading over to Patreon. Race number 2, we've got Miss Black in the lead, Holly Hohen pulling up the rear, Robert Waits, Camille Sarah, John Breaker Drake, all in the top 5, Fluxa, Captain Cloud, Jeremy Hong Kong, Yemeth, Ellipses, Chef Dan is lame, thank you for increasing your pledge, I appreciate that, January is exceptionally hard, Origami Steve, Bean Tom with a bag of baubles, Santa Jerry, Silo Rovers, Vertical Loop, welcome to the club, friends. Zaptorus 28, Jerry, that's the original Jerry. 211 Jerry, the 2 Jerrys, Zarfar Barkar, Destiny Piper, Jerry Kitsune, and Frankenberry. Ain't that a hiding bitch, though? Assassin Punk Jerry, Baby Jerry, Billy D, Bitch Gremlin, Blade the Hero, Commander J Tank, Dirty Little Jerry, Dr. Larks, Aaron Era, Erratic Mechanic, Eastparks 50, Gizmo Jack, Hadrian PR, Irish Pirate, Iron Hollow, Irradiated JM, JM Coon, Jerry Smith, Jerry Blacktail, Juicy Lucy, and the Adventures of Danny Saggy Baggy. If there was a horse named that, though, I'd bet on it. Jukebox Jerry, Cuddly Kraken, Lady Italian Greyhound Dino, Lady in Awakening, Lauren Crow, Legitimate Girth, Lord Jerryo, Lukevanks was a race car driver, he was a good friend of mine, like and subscribe, My Lady Nix, Mad Monk, Melgar the Destroyer, Matter of Fact, the Needless King, Phantom of the Pines, Jerrykins and Jerry Beth, Sarita the Lolita, Scarlet's Kevin, Sergeant Gay Cop, Bringer of the Law, Silo Imp, Stephanie Goodner, Storm Jerry, Sight Empty Boomstick, Taco Mal, Brilliant Tamago, the Gypsy Barber, the Littlest Who want you Fusky, and this isn't even my final beard. Try to find another bauble to get back to the real world. Vanguard Angel, VC3, Viking Jerry, Vladimir Dragonov, WikiTech, Comrade Mooney, Kira, not another Jerry, but he is though. Cage Alex 9, Bad Penny Lane, Carcass, Third Step, Venom Jerry, Jace Christensen, One Leg Jerry is returned for battle. A normal Jerry. This new cringe is quite tasty. Good job, Red. Hey, thanks so much. We're getting into some new stuff. New year, new me, something like that. Amber Alder, Atomic Jerry Zilla, Breaker of the Tom Army, Bartender Keelia, Big Dad Wolf, Broken Spine, Horseradish, Coagular, Cake Jerry, that's a different Jerry, California Jerry Girl, Chikara the Panda, Corey does commissions now, oh wow, Cowabunga Jerry, Crypt Titties, the Fawn Jerry, Def to Tuna, Deku, Dwarfy Dude, Jerry, Boo's Daughter, Ghost of Alpha, Greymon 365, Half Slavic Jerry in a tracksuit, Heek Not, HMT Mayor, walking into a GameStop to trade a pigeon for store credits. It's a reference to the green text video from yesterday. That's beautiful. Hydra Jerry Solman, Janitor Jerry, I can't think of anything funny right now. Jeffrey, Geralda Verivia, Jerry, but with 2 S's and an E. Jerry Springer, the results are in. You are not the neckbeard. Jerry the Sussy Baka, Jerry's mom has got it going on. Jerry Roxers, Jerry Roleplaying Game, Kitsakin, Machia City, maybe next time, Miss Duchess, Mr. Gasmask, Not Invisible Angel, Raptor Arc, Snary, that's Nom Jerry, Spoonie the Rogue, Spoopy Scary, Jerry Ton. They call me Jerry Two Knives. This is purely a mercantile transaction. Yep, sure is. Doing for the Jerry and beyond. Tokyo Bird, Trickster, Unkale, Vaughn, throws 2-liter Mountain Dew. Grow, my neck beer, grow. It's Jerry time, holds ReddX more for hygiene. It's Jerry time, holds ReddX more for humility. And thank you, of course, to my $1 patrons as well. Big ups to all of these people for helping me out. I mean it from the bottom of my heart. I cannot thank you guys enough. Please support if you're able. If you're not, don't sweat it too hard, friends. I just appreciate you hanging out with me, coming on through. I hope you'll come on back, hang out with me again tomorrow. In order to do so, you need to keep yourself safe out there. Wash your hands. Like every day. I don't have to tell you every day, right? But do it. And of course, I want to remind you that you are loved, you are worthy, you definitely deserve it. And I shall see you in the next one. So until then, friends, bye-bye.